Eleanor Wraith vanished on a quiet October night. But what's strange isn't that she disappeared. It's that everyone in town swears they still see her. Some say they catch glimpses of her in shop windows, standing behind them when no one's there. Others hear her voice at the edge of the woods, calling softly as if she's just out of reach. The police searched for months. No evidence, no suspects, no answers. But the people who knew her best say the signs were there long before she went missing. The letters she stopped sending, the way her curtains never opened again, the light in her house that flickered every night at the same time, even after the power was cut off. And maybe the strangest part? The day Eleanor vanished, the town's clocks all froze at 11:47 p.m. Eleanor Wraith lived in a small, fog-covered village tucked between the hills, the kind of place where everyone knows each other and secrets are kept behind drawn curtains. She wasn't famous or rich or remarkable in any obvious way. She worked part-time at the library, kept to herself, and lived in an old stone house at the edge of town. People described her as polite, quiet, distant, like she was there but never really present. Still, everyone noticed when she began acting differently. She stopped coming to work without explanation. Neighbors said they'd see her standing in her yard late at night, staring into the woods for hours. Sometimes she spoke softly, to no one. Other times she laughed like she was answering a voice only she could hear. Then came the night she disappeared. Her front door was locked from the inside. Her shoes were still by the door, her coat still on the rack, her phone left charging on the table. But Eleanor was gone. The only thing out of place was a single teacup, still warm, sitting on the windowsill, and a note beside it with just 3 words: "Don't follow me." The search for Eleanor Wraith began the next morning. Her coworker reported her missing when she didn't show up for work, and within hours the quiet village turned into a maze of flashing lights and police tape. Officers went through her home first. Everything was spotless. Too spotless. Dishes cleaned and stacked, bed neatly made, not a single item out of place. It didn't look like someone who was planning to leave. It looked like someone preparing to be gone. They found her handbag and wallet still in the kitchen. Her passport was untouched, her clothes still hanging in the closet. There were no signs of a struggle, no forced entry, no footprints leading away from the house. Then came the strange details. Her diary was open on the desk upstairs, but the final page stopped mid-sentence. "I think it's finally starting to..." and nothing more. The pen was still pressed against the paper, like she vanished mid-thought. In the basement, investigators found an unfinished painting, a portrait of Eleanor herself, but she wasn't alone in it. Behind her were several blurred faces, people no one could identify. And yet, one officer later said he could have sworn he'd seen one of those faces before, standing outside the house that very night.
Still, there was no evidence, no witnesses, and no trace of where she'd gone. It was as if Eleanor Wraith had simply stepped out of her life and into something no one could follow. In the weeks after Eleanor's disappearance, the town turned her story into a kind of obsession. Everyone had a theory. Everyone knew what really happened, or thought they did. Some said she ran away, that she'd been saving quietly, planning a new life somewhere far from that village and its cold stares. It made sense in a way. She was lonely, withdrawn, maybe tired of the same quiet days. Others believed something darker, that she'd been taken. There were rumors of a white van seen near her street the week before she vanished. Someone swore they heard a scream that night, though no one else did. But the theories that unsettled people most were the ones that didn't sound like crime at all. Her closest friend told police that in the months before she disappeared, Eleanor had started talking about echoes. She said she could hear her own voice coming from the woods behind her house, calling her name when she was alone. A few nights before she vanished, she told her friends something even stranger. "They're getting louder, and they sound like me." Then there were the sightings. Weeks after her disappearance, a farmer claimed he saw her, walking into the forest at dawn, barefoot, wearing the same clothes she disappeared in. He called out to her, but she didn't turn. She just kept walking until a fog swallowed her whole. Weeks after her disappearance, the police released parts of Eleanor's journal to the public, hoping someone might recognize a clue or pattern. But instead of answers, all it did was raise more questions. The early pages were ordinary: grocery lists, small notes about books she was reading, thoughts about her garden. But slowly, her handwriting began to change. The neat lines turned messy, rushed. Some entries were written in the margins, others scrawled across the page as if she couldn't write fast enough to get the words out. One entry read, "It's not loneliness, it's noise. The air hums when I'm near the window. I hear myself whispering from outside, but I'm still inside." Another said, "The mirror in the hallway moved today, only for a second, but I saw it. My reflection looked at me before I looked at it." And then the one that made investigators stop reading out loud. "The reflection is starting to move when I don't." Near the end, her writing grew faint, smaller, almost childlike. She mentioned the others and the place that waits beyond the trees. She said she dreamed of standing in the orchard, though there was no orchard anywhere near the village. Her final entry was dated 2 nights before she vanished. It said, "I think I finally understand where they go." That page ended there. No signature, no ink smudge, just white space, like she meant to keep writing but never got the chance.
After that, the house was left empty again. And neighbors say that every once in a while, when the wind hits just right, you can still hear a faint voice in the hall, soft, distant, and almost familiar, whispering,
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next one. Bye for now.